Mani Padme Hum Re Om 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 Mani Padme Hum Re Gewande Nyurduda Chereze Wanduyone Rowa Chikamanumba Deye Salangoma Sho. Thank you, Rinpoche.
사단남제 연대라도는 도제 장가공요 요 공조선비 샤자 생겨야 돼 받은지 벌받아니 작업단 조반로를 되네 르브접들 라마로와데 공조선비한테 맞은 발랑하고 와서 접대 잡아야다 되는 제도면에 잡아주자 나위 잡라서 되게 나지는 다제 제간에 급제단이 라마 제모는 가진다 뭐 잡다 돌리 저도 선절 다제도 저들고 대매점들이 나들다들 뭐냐다는 진인 거죠 저거 침이 돌진 정라서 와데 뭐 가다 주ян다 벌다 벌러를 되지 시도지 거를 그녀들 이제 라마저 처럼 돌지 잡라서 와데 들어서 와 봐지 요와 도몽임 좀 자세 처리 좀 상가 자매념을 사정내 돈이 매매를 이제 봐줘 소좀 동아저라 지제지 약속 매번 요월 질러서 접지도 되는데 나지나 담바 주제는다 다도 소
주디 가와요래 아 주디 이 통금인데
디
데카
디 드르마르웨
기마데
그래 디 드르마르웨
이 코랑 두순 데려와데
디 쇼옹들요 드린 데는 다다 아사 다 파파 고준 통거리 그래서 이 고조 그파 파파 이거래 파파 치야라 따라 드린 데는 데 동시고 봐 강내들 늘 빼 동다 망보 이거래 늘 상합다지 파파서 레이터 파지 봐 심포고 파벌리라 싱고 마서서 상합다지 파파서 딜라 드니다다 또 잠두 고면 소비 운가라 자바를 가야 요거래서 소요가 가라 이신가야람이 자바를 가 요거래서 다한테 좀 요제 내네 남탈 제그람이래 지금 남탈 제도 다다다는 거 소는데 산이 잡을 통해 있는 더러나 납시 촉제돼 다 가서 스바제데 해요라 데리 뒤통다리가 넘버 타방 무슨 마시는 게 증도는 짜이나 어래 남탈 장기 소다 남탈 제데 다다시 거는 남탈 제 어제 남탈 제레스 남탈 제 소스노래 남탈 제레스 데리 잠두 오만디 소비엘라디 고마지요래 고마지데 가래 재미제래 저는 니반의 초생 가요. 니 법바디 소의 초생들이 말을 통로래. 대 강는데 초생지게 각 종처리 균이 땅 거요 말이. 국정 진선이 대 이제 생긴 담지 hingi chuni matangwa dare so chosin ka de de me sorsam de kosum gravi re chukro ko tokosom.
And the three edges symbolize the three kayas: Dharmakaya, Samogakaya, and Nirmanakaya.
semji tamje kosum ko hang tobar se bare.
So it also symbolizes the attainment of the three kayas by all sentient beings.
Teni data we sem chogo papa dala teni shiba som yore dala. Di pena shiba som de kana tangbu sem chogo papa de papa chen khord gom go yore so. Papa chen khord gom na ta dari chamjong gyola parchi dorji yore yore. Teni di tangwo tamje jamdi ko tongmo tamje tho jyo re tho jyo
Tangpo kare re la tangpo su re
jikol a ta jetang phape she ba tari je ba
la re
ta de ni dorji joni jikol gong na ta de ne yang dorji joni jikol yo so ori ne gong go yo gondi ta ti pe ramra gom do re di na
dorje shunu su re
a
dorje shunu su re
dorji yo ne phapa khon ro ba parchi dorji yo ne
las
pabari ka di khayo mane
te dewola
a
dewola kare
a
dorje shunu
이 노지 조는 코 초 쪄요래. 다산이 원고 초 쪄대. 초 쪄대 다다. 소 위에 참제나. 초제. 소 위에 초제 참제를 초제를 와. 예를 와. 등은 홍가라. 샤블로 또 보지. 등wo 소 참제들. 이 주디에는 프로페서를 corporate로 나오네. 소비에 참제네. 이 프로젝트 거리 교래 대성 교래 대탐제디는 공공교래.
So the kilaya has three edges. So in between the edge there is a snake heading down. This scepter, which we call kilaya, has a lot of meaning hidden in it. And another name for this scepter is the kilaya, which is a symbol of blessing. This is another name for this scepter. And on the top of this scepter, kilaya, there are 4 sides and the tip, the roof. These 5 places are where the 5 Buddha families abide. Below that, after the knot, there are 8 edges, 8 sides. And these sides symbolize 8 emancipations, 8 liberations. These liberations are the liberations of the 8 consciousnesses. Below that 8 edges, there's another knot, and below that there are 4 sides. And these 4 sides represent 4 gates where 4 guardians live. And below that is the crocodile head. The crocodile head symbolizes the great compassion. When a crocodile, grabs an animal, it doesn't let it go at all. From the great compassion, no sentient being is, excluded. Everyone is grabbed. No one is giving up. So the crocodile head symbolizes compassion. In the actual practice of Vajrakilaya, this scepter is used as a mandala of the deities. For instance, in the top of the Kilaya, there is the chief deity of the Kilaya practice. Literally, it just means the youthful Vajra. Youthful Vajra means Kilaya, and Kilaya is accompanied by 10 retinues. And below that, there are another 12 deities, 4 in the 4 directions and 4 in the sub-directions, so that makes 8, and 1 on the top and 1 below. Altogether, the upper part of the Kilaya, there are 12 deities, including Kilaya and the 10 retinues.
슬라탐 홍역의 처도 여기 고민이야 요래서 되니 되면 슬라탐지 되는 것은 되는 야외강 치고 고민 이 야외강으로 슬라탐만 여기는 고민은 그래 홍역의 처도 고민은 그래서 되니 단지세 하는들 개배시 밥에 망모 요래서 뭐 위에 요래 이렇게 밥 망볼 때 변나 가시게 세이나 초마인 바지 가시게 초이나 세마인 바지 다시 좀 키바더니 배 놓고 그러는데라 가시게 세 초니가 마인 바지 가시게 세 초니가 인 바지 다시 뭐 위에 놓고 그래야 돼 동당 가서 하고 말이 개በት 주바래 저 건소 너랑 가서게 세장이나 초장이 맞고 그래서 가서 세이나 초이 맞고 그래서 대 강인들아 세 강인은 또 도디 좀 세래스 도디 좀 세이나 세인 초이는 코탐제는 초이 세 초이가 있어 아들 법벌한 일로 해요래 다 법벌 좀 그게 냠리 체죠 강자 노지는 봐서 자네 다 냠리 고시지 드리신이나 다다다 내 두기가 강자를 제발이요래서 다들 법바 이제 드미 강자 가리고 그랬잖아 내 예법감도 다 소소소소 때는 나 가리르버리다 따거라 다 소소 가리르버리다 랑랑 따거라 해 미게 주도 맹도해요 말이지 다 르바 이시게 법바데 르바 이시죠 법바네 남카다 강자가 르거래서 강이시나 로양 시랍 첨보 왕고 능보 드리게 강자가 다 냠슬인 거래 데라 르파 짜지 왕거를 르짜고 왕거를 빼놓고 르파 고트요나 라르 이시지 표방오 통네 땡오도 토마타도 다 펴봐 태별해 라르 이시 오데 석은 통나 디다도 펴봐 태별해 이게 이게 또 초탐지 추로요 그래서 그래서 양잘 쉬어고 너디 좀 명마시 가서나
So there are two ways of visualizing the deities in the Kilaya. Either you can visualize the Kilaya being like a huge celestial mansion, and then you visualize the deities as they look, or you visualize the deities as syllable Hung. They are all in Hung forms, not the actual deity, but the syllable Hung. Regarding this sun Kilaya, there are a lot of debates between great scholars. Some say that this, Kilaya of symbol, the scepter, is the sun Kilaya, not the chief, not the kind of father, or mother. It's not the chief. Some say it's the chief, not the son. Some say it is none of those. And some say it is both the chief and the son. So in our case, we believe that it is the chief as well as the son. This is the sun Kilaya because it is the son of the youthful Vajra or Vajrakilaya. And it is the chief because this is the chief of all sons of Kilaya. This was about the scepter, the Kilaya. And now next I'm going to talk about the practitioner of Kilaya. The Kilaya can be practiced in different ways by different persons. So when I'll be teaching about it, you can think carefully and decide yourself, where you fit. First of the four Kilayas were the Kilaya of self-awareness or timeless awareness. This Kilaya can be practiced by a person who is naturally like space. It means somebody who is extremely intelligent and spacious, who is a person with great wisdom. Such a person, to practice this particular Kilaya, should receive the empowerment of the dynamic energy of self-awareness. And when this self-awareness is introduced to such a being, and if it is realized upon introducing, then at that very moment, this kilaya of timeless awareness is accomplished, or literally it means, if you step the dragger and if it penetrates, it has fulfilled its action. So it says it is stepped, literally, but it means upon introducing the self-awareness, if it is fully realized, then the activity of this particular kilaya is accomplished. And at that moment, all thoughts of dualism disappears.
다 퍼봐 니바 상적 심지 퍼봐대 니바 도차 체증 종주정 된바 종주 침보지 강자 사카린다 따블라 사카린다 되고 하장 도차 침보지 자제 요래스 근데 대다고 강자라 근데 영 칸도만 친다 된바 칸도 친다 된들이 영 따신 친디 때네 드니 왕선 바꿔네 왕가감이 드니 대화치 못 때네 드니 대다와 다른 거 되면 양설랑나 드니 도차 대화치 뭐 있으라고 뭐 투네 드니 양다 동tambat에 된바 통도 탈신도 해서 다 선바 퍼봐 선바 재미 인지 퍼봐 때는 되는 로보다고 강자 띵보 이 강자 대바지 인지 침보지 인도는 하장 주바 가와 드니가 뭐가 되니 라인이 이제 동대 되니 체미 바야라 로장네 되니 라나미가 산촉 심지 제네 되니 아주 왕건에 되니 퍼봐 땀나 드니 체미 바야에 담자 정네 드니 대다가 레탄 트레그 민가 동고래 제 민가데 띠나 드니 상기 띵오 투네 드니 퍼빠 탭데 니 랑지니가 동탈선 봐 이제로서 드니 대다 체미 닌지 퍼빠데라 용인이 변한 송출 인여래서 늘 깨름 스퍼 퍼버 송에 되나 깨름 거 꼬르데 양들나 잔나 송에 여래서 대나 변한 가자 아자르치chen 샘띵 보여봐. 로봇하고 가자 같으니 깨름도 냠설랑네. 드리제네 양디 조통을 못 턱고요래서 대충 뒤니 재미있는 퍼바데 깨름을 띠바다 딱 니기를 띠로 니기 띠로 깨차르와 다음에 많이 봐 깨름 찌볼로 띠네 그냥 깨름들은 니기 고요리 네 같이 깨름 매는 인기 찍보고 답록다 깨름데 인기가 송전되는 답록니 송걸라 나타다 깨름 말이 깨름 인기 왔어요 어떤 치마 제주 퍼발라 토티니 되니 답퍼바 이와데 토디요래 자동이 디슈로 퍼바 통만 용통게 바디 동 저런 거 산인데 왕걸 근데 빼다 침보래 저런데 동 퍼바 통만 용리 잡들 먹게 찍다.
So the second type of kilaya is the kilaya of bodhicitta, and this particular practice of kilaya is suitable for persons with intense desire but very hard-working, industrious people. This type of practitioners are very desirous and lustful. They are analogous to a particular bird called kalinga. This bird is full of desire. Such a person, when receives the third empowerment and is given the instructions to practice with the dakini, with all signs, then through the practice of channel, wind, and drops, all attachment, all desires can be dispelled, and such a person can see the ultimate truth. Third type of kilaya, kilaya of immeasurable compassion. This kilaya practice is suitable to a person who is very stable, unchanging, who has the nature of a mountain, and who is fully devoted and has very strong compassion for sentient beings, and who wishes to benefit others. To such a person, when the practice of the four immeasurables are introduced through that practice, they can benefit themselves as well as all sentient beings by means of the four immeasurables. The kilaya of immeasurable compassion can be applied merely by the practice of compassion. And another way of applying this kilaya, this particular kilaya, is that the person who wishes to apply this particular kilaya practice should be somebody who is very proud but has a very stable mind. And through the practice of a generation stage, this kilaya can be applied. So there are two ways, one with generation stage practice and one with just compassion. Next, we are going to talk about the fourth kilaya, which is the symbolic kilaya. Those of you who have not seen Purva, the kilaya, before, can have a look. It's here. And during the empowerment Sunday, you should have a clear understanding of what a kilaya is.
Chima zeja papa, ta papa yuwa tere. Chima zeja papa la tene, zindi ta ukanza. Tari yuwa sa te eso, zindi ta ukanza de shari kwa lungu mado, bai chakpo, yun chokpo de zindi de tang song tong ruwa. Le gang yin de xedang qibo, teni lokpar ta na de sanje tenpa za semji 탐지를 내봐 땅에 들이 대때마더니 코로치 뭐 이 사지가 띠바 송결했더니 양 사지가 띠바 개샘치 뭐 드리금에 송설에 전에 해당치 뭐 제디 다서 제디 대신 초보르가
템발라 카레 송샘치 뭐 템발라 송샘치 뭐
템발라 페심치 뭐 템베 동다를 배 샤인치 뭐 템바데 샘기는 양로바 당연히 약해당치 뭐 템발라 페셈 샘기는 노바 당연히 해당치 뭐 드리 강사 같으니 냠슬인 거래서 드니 드리 강사라더니 도르제 표고는 왕거 드니 그런 게 도르제 표배 님바 드바 레벨라서 뭐 첫동 데바더니 냠슬랑나 드니 그런 게 줄라요 드니 나시 담지 도르제 표배 좀 임발에 싶어 미시 선 그들이 semna 찌그래 오 나지 담지 도르제 표배 좀 거래서 드니 디동 동바당냠데 드니 랑게 레자와 강짬나더니 sakdo chakule chale tamche teni drop tokuyo rezo ore teni ta papa drop ze gi ba rezo sima papa drop ze wi so si yong tu me xie ji rezo teni riba yi ji papa drop ka tse teni flapper zohor ta teni sherdo melong de la so par tin chene drop go rezo la parta hello melong teni sanchok semje pharpa dopa nuk thopa chingdi da thopa nuk kapala teni tera so dorje da pema la so ban thola teni ti dogore so chemi niji pharpa tang leje pharpa 계름과 라고바다 나망보다 땡은지 탐제를 땡이네 열심히 탐제를 땡이세야 되더니 독거래서
단다르발 리바이시기 부바 쉘당 멜롱라 소바디 제르베
셔도 멜롱레
셔도 두비하게 제
리바이시기 부바 다다다디 리바가도 투바 멜롱 셔도 되니 이거래
The fourth kind of kilaya, which is the actual kilaya, the object, is suitable for a person who is very short-tempered and who is very aggressive. It's suitable for a person who has the nature of sandalwood. The sandalwood is very tough and very strong. So such beings harm those who are harmful to the teachings and sentient beings. When such a person is initiated in the Vajrakilaya Tantra when he or she does the mantra recitations and meditations. Soon he or she can perform the great activities by subduing his or her own afflicting emotions. Through this practice, the practitioner can realize the samsara and sentient beings all together as the mandala of Vajrakilaya very clearly. And this kind of accomplishment is useful in the performance of wrathful activities, especially. In the practice of the kilaya of timeless awareness or self-awareness, the practitioner uses several means such as crystal, mirror, and so forth. In the practice of the second kilaya, which is the kilaya of bodhicitta, the practitioner uses materials like skull and vajra and lotus and so forth. And in the practice of immeasurable compassion kilaya, the practitioner engages in the generation stage where he or she visualize deities and recite mantras and abide in meditative absorption. Same is true with the fourth kilaya, which is the kilaya of symbol, and it's also called the kilaya of karma or activity.
Tani dubze zeje papa nimba tuzo papa ta nyonga dubze zeje changwa dubze zeje papa nimba tuzo papa ta yongar papa zeje wa yongar tani drupa tuzo kollo ta kollo se langa je pena ta perin de je yore pena tapule chena tani meji zotang si mangla soba tani pe kollo je bandaya yore tani
and legi purpadi garela rumbachi tanji chemme ningje dan legi purpase yang chik songso
legi purpa re
legi purpa dang duje purpa gare kebaya
chemi ningje purpa te legi purpa de na benandi tata chemi ningje purpa na lega cheya ga purpa ra lega cheya purpa ya sarwa chemi ningje purpa da legi purpa te tamje sangha tengenji lever dinner to the good Benakazi, Saver generate, Leka Yure, they song sare. Papa Nira, they jiggly. Tani Tabagon shade, Tabagon shena, Tani Rupa is your papa. Rupa is your papa. Ramin, Jikotam, Ramin. Ko tham che ke ramyin la te ne drapa la tani tawa re tawa teng song de she jire so rupa shi ji papa tawi ko re tani sanchok sem ju papa te de tong ni se me be ji khor de 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 tong ni se me be shi la drupala te chupa re chupa ko re tawa na chupa ni ro goba di jini yung je kong thok de cha de chupa mus di gang ni zalong ko mus chupa ro de chupa ya yo re di san chok chen ju pa ne mus la ni de de ni cho cho ge de zalong jang yo ro de chupa ko le ya chupa la ta de she ba re so teni chemi ni ji pa de 땡은지 저거도 땡은지 저거도 접네 되는 무슨 고바 냠슬이 봐서 다다와 고바 줘봐 섬때나 나오라
so I have to clarify
동동다 직발에 맹제에서 단디 레지 퍼바데는 저도 배주 또야
the kilaya of immeasurable compassion and the kilaya of karma or activity was one and the same.
So
the kilaya of the Tandashedel.
Dibze Papa, Nipatus, Papa, Yunkar, Drupatus, Kolota Langa.
So, in the practice of the Kilaya of symbol, during the recitation, the main materials include a Kilaya and white mustards and so forth, and mustard seeds. And in the actual practice of accomplishing this Kilaya, the chief materials include a wheel and a chakra, where there are some depictions of the person for whom the practice is aimed at. So these 4 Kilayas are now also explained from the point of view of the view. In this context, the Kilaya of timeless awareness means looking at the entire mandala of the Kilaya deities, at their nature. The Kilaya of timeless awareness is related to the view, and the Kilaya of bodhicitta is related to the action. In the Kilaya of bodhicitta, the main practice is unifying bliss and emptiness through the practice of channels and wind. The Kilaya of immeasurable compassion has to do with the actual meditative absorption in great compassion.
Tenin Dibze Papa, Zungi, Jinkor de, then Chilling Yongsu Zobar, Sheba, the Sheba Tamika, Menjang Reta, that a Sheba that need to live Shagere, Tigoni Shagere, the Bella. Requires you to provide it to call it in the Tavi Sheba Mambo or Eso. Then Sancho sent you Papa, the Cuba Mambo, Cuba Court, Jeba, Jeffe or Eso. Then he knew you Papa till at any Gomba Cor. Gomba Yamson Bagaban, the River Cork, Jeffe or Eso. That you hear by Judge Mobe, Judge Mobe, men some song or Eso.
Zegi Purpadi? Zegi Purpadi. Shibat
Zegi Purpan, Tele, Tangus Legachi or under that for the Blue Mambo that Yore song, Motutan Nangore. That's it. Teni, Tela, Tata Hon Zungi, Duluk Sum Yore. Then the Duluk Tamjela Tata, Jinkor with Jebi Sungo Yore, Jinkor with Jebi. So I tended the Zungi Jinkor to Bala, some day. Nimbujan Kola Zap J. Nimbujan Kola Zap J in your ass. Kola Zap J in your ass.
The Kolo di Kawayar.
Kolo de Napja, Kolo de Tabu Colore. That in Kolo de Namposa, Tia Pena, Napja and Kotus, Ratis really. You will teach them and the early one. Kolo Zap J, we show Kolo Marie. The Kolo di Colossi Kikor Nava Yore, Kawayar. Jinkor de Jinkor, Jinkor with the one color, Jinkor with the one color, Google, quality or this Kolo to South and Colin and Google.
The symbolic Kilaya, which is the dragger, is a receptor to use in accomplishing the activities. So, in brief, in the Kilaya of timeless awareness, all the contents, all the explanations are of the view. In the Kilaya of bodhicitta, it is dealing with the action. In the Kilaya of immeasurable compassion, it talks more about meditation. And in the Kilaya, symbolic Kilaya, the Vajrakilaya aspect, it talks more about the activities. So altogether, these 4 Kilayas deal with view, action, meditation, and activities. There are many different ways of practicing Kilaya. To go in detail, it's too extensive. So what I'm going to say here is just a kind of introduction. Basically, there are 3 types of mandalas. And the first mandala is called the mandala for mantra recitation. And this mandala is in the form of a wheel with 8 spokes.
Drupal Jinko, a chum near Jason, a chum near Jig the Data and is really that on Shinglebletini, Colotane, Colotani, Colotari, the Pava de Sari, they take on word by Zajali, Purple at home, the purple house of the Jutani, Remember, the Poland and Usa, and Zoji or China. That he means so good. They talk of I'm Joe Kona and very Jetan. Drupal Jinko, a chum near Jig, your race.
Atoms in a correct.
Atoms in a dog and the perpetual call Magna atoms. Perpetual call Magna atoms. The atoms in a so some took some river. Didn't call it some took some young. Then it tea, mango to do tums in a tums in it. It didn't several reasons a preparatory job. Preparatory unity, Tassel, you're at the new Zogre Bella to think of the atoms in the Colotão, the Diego, the Nitio Atayareva, Tirma in the Panama Papacu. The Nita Tapulated and Sepet and Corson, Sepa Latini, Tapulated Bala, Colosep Troki, say, Dali, that Tapulated. Sepet and Colosep Troki, yes. The cooler than Colosep Troki, the Saku, the Nigger. The dog come the dog to the Koshida, Chu Marete, Machune, that soon the Yuno, that the look of Chilipelli, Jachivo, Jeva, Dupa, Drabada, the Mango, you are the Hakotana, then it was the Yamselino to do the Pele. Then he comes out running, Yamselino, the Kanza, one board rap, Chiji, one lay Jetaba, that is the Chutawadi. The head of Chela, that did the look that I will go your repella. Jetam Jesona, then you saw a Tawandi, oh, Tapella. One board up the tissue, then the tissue, then you saw Yams and Limba and tissue pella. Then it young teen tam Koji, that and really.
During the actual accomplishing practice of Kilaya, the mandala has 21 atoms. Okay, atom means something triangle, which is located at the spokes of the wheel, and there are 21 of them in number. And at each atom triangle, there is a dragger, Vajra dragger, standing in the mandala. When Kilaya is being practiced to perform wrathful activities to subdue destructive beings, then the mandala is in the form of a wheel which has 6 spokes. The explanation of the Vajrakilaya practice is very profound and extensive, but it is still beneficial for everyone to hear all these details. If you can have all the things heard, then that can become a great cause for your mind to generate devotion and faith in all these deities. When you practice, you can practice from your own level. But highly accomplished practitioners like Rizin Chogitapa can use all these details in their practice. But for us at our level, we can still practice, but hearing this can be a source of inspiration and devotion.
Chito nyundu yula nge jete teta xieji, nyundu meni nge teta dune xieji ya. Chito nyundu yula kaseo, rangwa nama tongo. Nyundu mewa kaseo.
Mansa
nyundu dog re. Ne ata dina na songpa di shari jeba ma re. Ne gosu na, o dorti yungi jingko te pe yapo yo re. Maang pari chito drip tapa de ngene tiri ke lem hon lam re. Tiri sani nga ku wanga te, te je chi chito zab zab chi. Tiri nga ku pepa nipa xo yo re, penna. Nga yedamri tena teni chatola te chiyayin te. Ok. Teni nga ishi ejin chitola yondu yonla. Teni di sepa shipa deya pena tata diri kuwa cha kore. Purpa ka pe tabi na mesaya yore. Kaan yina rang ger ki pena chik ta gama ga teni chadang tawa teni Say, pay massive in your chimbo. Was Menda Jam say by your cherry, only. Saji get timba Gerando down in Mandiba. All a penna, Jacob, Jacky Mongol, never, Mamman, the Batangi. In his Hajet machine, 3 times at Drago, Misery Penaco. Pen was one of the thing you are bummed up country penna. Tell us what an Indian choked up yet and take them to driving the year Sanji penna. Uso Lani de Tenetani, but the darker only a year penna. All it.
If you wish to hear more details, then Rinpoche will try to talk more about these things. If you are bored, Rinpoche will try to summarize it. So whoever wishes to listen more can put up your hands. The explanation given in this text is not the most extensive one. It is already medium explanation. But if you hear these things once, it will be a great help in the future when you will be practicing Kilaya. I myself practice Kilaya. I did all the recitations and visualizations. And I will try to be as detailed as possible during the empowerment. The Kilaya power to subdue others can actually kill that person who is targeted by the practice. In the history of the Kilaya practice, there have been many cases when people were killed through the power of this practice. But if that killing is based on your personal attachment and aversion, if it is for your own benefit, then it's extreme delusion, and that is worse than killing that person by a gun or by some sort of weapon. So to perform this kind of action, one has to be completely free from self-cherishing attitude, completely free from any purpose for oneself. The person for whom this can be performed is someone who is very harmful to the Dharma and who is very harmful to the happiness of countless sentient beings. So if there is such a person is subdued by a practitioner who is completely selfless and only for the benefit of a large number of sentient beings, this kind of subjugation is permissible. Recently we had this 9/11 incident. So the person who designed all this situation is, for example, like a person who can be considered the object of subjugation in the Kilaya practice. Somebody who destroys the lives of many beings.
Ishijil Hadam Kandoma King, De La Sobatam develop Damada some years. Dinan Ishijil Hadabala, some Glaya Jata Jaja developed only. Glaya Ranga developed, Ni Glaya Power Chipper developed, some red Power Chipper in a pena. So, Jang Dubju, Kor, the another Chipper Dubju. Tadi Gombanyam Sali Loctari, Dramada or eso. Tini Gandang Kandomatam Jitubala, Tini Sutter Drupa, Nangda Drupa, Samata Drupa, Dramada, Ramsi Sumio, Gandino Taku, a power it, I go to Lekachi, say, Jacob Marine, Kang Baum Kandodina. Tini the Divze Dejo preparatory, Kieran will go in, so Divze Dejo preparatela, you call J. Yoris, you call J. Divze Dejo preparatory, you call J. You call J. de la home, Kieran go, Yingro song, Jamdi talk, Teni Kandomata de debate, you call Yeah. Sepe 좀 걸자. 탑두지 좀 걸. 그래. 방송 탑두지는다 레초가 중마 되려배나. 네 되려가 네 봐자야 요래. 되니 알레디 톱당스기 좀 매와체를 배랑 Nibajaya, Ni, Sugde, Jimsakar Tablet, Merasaya, Tin Pangdin, the Sol, Dopa, Dr. Chan, Paya, Nimsak Pangsam, Tabdi, Jinkor. You're it.
Je. There are several ways of practicing Kilaya. Kilaya, practicing Kilaya alone and practicing Kilaya with the retinues. To accomplish the power of the retinues, the dakinis that are in the mandala, there are three ways of practicing. Practicing externally, practicing internally, and practicing secretly. In the practice of the symbolic Kilaya, there are 8 different mandalas that can be visualized. The mandala of the body, the mandala of speech, mandala of mind, the mandala of 4 dakinis, the mandala of performing subjugating activities, the mandala to suppress hostile powers, the mandala to perform fire pujas in relation to the Kilaya, and the Pangwa di Kandere. Pangwa. Kare Pangwa, Toma Pangwa.
Toma Daso, Dakin Tebdo, and a Bena. Tato Chan, the touch drip had the penny, Toma de Tambo, Jay comes, the region of Latam King. The need genius Latam Jepena, Naquala, actually, the Toma, the Doctor Chunche, Mapoma, Gomdom, the Nipena, Dari, Pinsati, Lo, Dawa, Ya, do see Lasso Patini, Laza, Laga, Tiga, de la Tiga Yule, Tigane, Quanto Laza, Lacate, Drink Monetary, you took under the ta, Petrol Tan, Ducky Table, and Pin, Toma, any pound, Benago. Any American pound, Jana alone. Pinsa Jana alone, Legacy on a Bena. Meaning of a ascertainty, Trinity Tamche, the Jankor Theatre, your head, Trinidad, so with the 3 Lani de Quernia, a Mango Yure, Lani Temni, Peratata, the Jerry, the Cuchitapa, the 3 Yure. Trinidad. I saw some chicken, I'm sorry, but it's dinner. They tampian, the age of Papa and do it, you call Mango, then the age of Papa and do the or yes. The need to tampian, sort dinner penata, the flat and quarter so Mango, she or the cut down Shetrukam, the pena, Tambo, Rangi, Dorjis about gum, the tenny, then he on a Kumzang and gum, Dorjis about Chatang, Sangi or Gole. Young Chitrolan, that I will lay top, the Nangi Yore, or Chitro Chipiela, the Tama that I Yore. They did that purple line, the Tamji, Tari lay top, Mount, La, Mount, so Kalan de Dina, so Dorji only Chipon and do Yores. Dorji only Chipu Gui, and Ding, I tell her, lay top, Catty, Biloco, so you and the Goni Trico, lay top, Catty, kill a theatre with Jep to kill a theatre with Yore. So down the Tango Tambo, Toman Yamseli, Dorji on the Chipu, Yamseli, and the way of the Eson. They are party Dorji on the
So the last mandala is like, it's also a kind of means to subdue hostile forces, beings. It involves a lot of recitations, a lot of prayers, propitiations, and then at the end, some sort of tormas is put outside. And when the torma is put outside, it is the time of throwing the torma is arranged astrologically. Like you have an M, and that is the person that is to be subjugated, and you have an astrological record of that person's like age and that person's astrological information. So by matching all these things, when the torma is put, then no matter how far that person is, it affects. It's like the modern bomb. From here, you send the bomb to some other country, something like that. Highly accomplished practitioners like Rigzin Chökyi Thakpa can perform all these activities for the benefit of sentient beings. But for us to practice simply, all these many mandalas are included in the Kilaya of symbol, the Vajra dragon. In the mandala of Vajrakilaya, there is Dorje Shunu. The literal translation of Dorje Shunu is the youthful Vajra, which means Vajrakilaya, and many retinues. But all these retinues are a part of Vajrakilaya. In the visualization of the 100 peaceful and wrathful deities, we heard that the practitioner has to visualize him or herself in the form of Vajrasattva, and within that there is Samantabhadra and all other peaceful and wrathful deities, inseparably. In the same way, in the Kilaya practice, when we are in the beginning, our focus can be mainly on Vajrakilaya himself, and we have to know that all other deities that are in the mandala are included in Kilaya.
Dari di Java Shibata, the Muslim Benata Purple Le Taught the Ubo de Bena Tapuchele, Pavada. There is Tapuchele, there is a Drola Tore, Drola Tore in a Tata Java and the Tamki, Kangi Dina, Shedanga Java Tawani Yamari, these are Hako. Belong to Tonko down at the Tobraji Jaya. Drabzak Simchi Pena, Numumba, Rakpachi, Durkava, the Nijuga, Simchi, Da Pena, Shidang Chimbochi, Tata, you know, Nupatan with that of your Kangi, the Konope, Numumba, Tok Charity, or a legendary of Consumo, Tabachu, Consumo, Padam Mala, Kontokubame, or let in Tatama Koto Raso Rangachi, the Nijo, the Mokimbochi. 대다 탐제나 대 닝지저 당책을 세진 니바 많이 되다 세바 니바 대라소바 탐제 디 자르자가 심지인데 답보시는 진저가 별라 리록 기빠래 뭐소그 세대는 포화자바 당 드니 다리 신적 참을 자르진이 돼 원래这个找不起这个这类这个有的，这个希望这个出去这个有的，马多的这边，总呢可能罗萨就把它动过有的，罗萨就把刚理解了，德性政府可能有的，德性政府的女模把它卡车呢，等于可上这个公把的呢，哦嘞，他上这个啥有个有的，变了。这里嘛都是西巴的东阿拉说话马来，这里的他们现在被但那时候旁边的被你不送的被啊，这里介绍出来，我那张的爸爸扔的这边的，你看就要有的，哦来你不，这里提到他们现在，用他上这个车来那里呢，哦，就把的强迫当动作，就把的这样像马来，这样全部个这个有的，就当普遍预测的呢。인기자로 담책네 세계니 바 마이데서 제송네 인기가 작요레체.
The practice of Vajrakilaya is mainly used to perform wrathful activities, to subdue hostile beings who are completely occupied by extreme anger. So, in the process of subjugation, there is not even a little anger towards that being. It is completely an act of compassion. When we do Ganachakra Puja, sometimes we symbolically perform this activity of subjugating by cutting down a piece of Ganachakra from the edge of that, offering. The wrathful activity where the being is subjugated is somebody whose afflicting emotion is too gross. And it is impossible to tame such a person through teaching the law of karma, teaching the dharma. Such a person is hostile and harmful to his or her own parents. And there is no way other than subjugating for such a person to be helped. So, out of great compassion, the wrathful activity is performed on them, on such a person. it is in a way like performing power for that person. In the ordinary power practice, the consciousness of the death is transferred to the Buddha land, and in the performance of subjugation by means of the wrathful activities, the consciousness of that being is sent to the same place. No matter how bad that person is, no matter how ignorant that person is, he or she still has the Buddha nature. So by the skillful ways of this practice, out of great compassion, the Buddha nature of that being is, kind of separated from the thick, gross defilement. That is the actual purpose, the point of these wrathful activities. If you read the ways of performing the wrathful activities in the Vajrakilaya text, it's so fearsome that you even feel kind of shivering. But in the root text of Vajrakilaya, it says, separating a being from intense confusion out of great compassion is not killing and not suppressing. It is liberating.
Tenida Karsan, to Dorji Jon, the Papa Ye, Gondon, Halamzi, She or it. Tenite Tamji Katan Chon Dorduna. Then he Parchi Dorji Jon and do so. Dorji Jon, our Chupal and the Violet. Then he Dorji Jon, Shibata Bella, Kangi Bella. Dorji Chang, Dorji Samba, Dorji Jon, Quinta Zambo, the Datamchi, don't you party, Sotoke, the Jumbo, Tamadeba. Then he read, then he choose young Jimbo and a Penatata, or choose young Japatanina Sade. So, Kajuban, Dorji Chang, Dorji Chang, the Dorji Yon, don't you party. Darker she treat your coordinate, choosing the data you wrote it, do some just hand it up here, so to your day, Chale. Jenny Tata, Maso, Roa Sempi Tampiela, district new Roa Yon, chap, dinner, Dinico. So to two be penna cook the district new body. Chechong Mato, you're it, penna, Salmasari Mato. Rico Chagoret. The leader the Dorji Hibade, Tony Tonja Dorji. Dize Maivasana, Easy Jobeva. Cheva meba, Cheva meba, Ole. Do some Java meba. Cheva meba, Cheva meba, Jiva, Guba, Yung Yomari Bena, Ole. Do some Java meba, this is a yon. Dorji dinner Bena, Dorji chip do some. At the bay shape of Mambo Yore. Three days at the pacing so now to book a Dorji del Pena. Tombani Yamala, Dorji Ranga, Yaranga, Maranga, the need Dama, somebody, Ela Sopa, Chutamji, we just Dorji and Songo. They pen that I shan't that our head. Same dirty you bought Tombani in the Latin, you think Tamji and the Linjungo Yore. The law is a Carson Marjan Dramada, the Linjungo Yore. The need that the Tongan Songo Yore. Constable Monandela, Ole. Nothing called time check, yet lam in driven ye. Yandi saga you think time here, semblin jungo yore. Mother don't call it don't eat time, semblin jungo yore. Sem to walk on career, Ganyam meva, Ole. Don't want you the trap the challenge deva. Don't want you young imbala. Then Jiang Mahimbala, Jiang Chajuang Yova. Then it is. Then they Tata Kanan Chongo Yore, then a pen saw the Dorji Lopende. They Tata was the Sakin, the doctrine of Tawan or Tagon, Tanga Wanga Kami, Lama Dorji Lopenji. Oh, the Dorji, the Tonde, Ranga Yini, the Yina, Tundi Bala, the Dorji Lopenji, Dorji Lokoyori Bella. Ole. Semje Dorji, the Mo. Trepati, the Dorji Lopenji, take a mental for your head.
Yesterday, I explained the 4 types of kilayas roughly, and all these 4 types of kilayas are included in the youthful Vajra or Vajrakilaya. Vajrakilaya is synonym for Vajradhara, Vajrasattva, and Samantabhadra. They are all one and the same with different names. All these names refer to the innate nature of mind, which is Buddha nature. During the teachings on peaceful and wrathful deities, we saw that in the mandala there are all the enlightened beings with their qualities of body, speech, and mind and activities. The Buddha nature pervades all sentient beings. So therefore, essentially, there is no distinction between the Buddhas and sentient beings. The only difference is that our Buddha nature is still defiled and the Buddha nature is not. The term Vajra refers to emptiness. The meaning that is implied by the Vajra is something which is indestructible, something which is not compounded, something which is unconditional. Because it is unborn, it is beyond death, and it doesn't change in the 3 times, and it doesn't get old. That is why it is called the youthful Vajra. The Vajra, the scepter, has 7 characteristics or 7 attributes like this. The Vajra symbolizes emptiness, which is the basis of all phenomena. It symbolizes the base in which there is no distinction between Buddhas and sentient beings. That base is analogous to a crystal. Crystal is something from which all different colors can be manifested upon meeting the sun, meeting the light. In the same way, from that singular base manifest all qualities of nirvana and samsara. They are all coming from the same origin. If you look into that nature, it is emptiness. It is nothing, but everything appears from it. And we also have that term Vajra Master. Vajra Master is somebody who can introduce you to the practice of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. Vajra Master is someone who presides in the empowerment and who has realized the Vajra-like nature of mind and introduces that to the disciples.
Tini da takpa sanje saga dorjin chanko de zambo dorjin yone te da ge yon ti nga cho ge ju ko ju je mang pa re mang bo re cha tam te tam re o te tam xie yan ta te ta ngo chu ga re shik thop ge re ga che shik thop ge re nga so re wa ga re yo re chu chu char twa che yo re de nga ge pha lin da bre twa ta ni nga re lin ta mi nga re te ka wa do rang ge sem char ta go re ngasola dorjin changre re yo re de pela mole mugbe ta sa de yo re de pela tela tena de ni 생군 거 가도 손라 de dorjin changre yo de dorjin yo ni chechu tamje ha ko re de 강내 송진에 pela ta malare pa ke song le chu ju za ma ju semje za wa chu de chu tam지 sem린 정도 yo de 랑 그 sem구 za wa de sem구 내로 de 도나 dini chu tamje de ne lo ha ko re de ka ju be lo so re de na da ni sem gu ta ka ri to go re de la sem de jing ni mo de ta tang so zung zi ni wa tan ne zung wa ye lan de ba sem zung zi ge de ba che le rang ge sem de jing ni mo wo che ta wa yin chong la 信郎化的那个生意，信郎化背当就对了，这郎生意的我，通过了的。这个郎生意的我的别了口，有办法耶，好嘞，没办法耶，有办法耶的别了口哦，他东把你得听个掐来的吧，得掐了的吧嘞，我不得怎么样有嘛嘞。 매바 말에 산지 심지니가 누구 요래. 다티네 때 가르는 거죠. 오, 샘데 샘맞게 샘제라고 어서와오. 어서와라미. 사브람지니 가르데. 오. 랑게성 오 동바에 봐. 올래. 땡통킹의 사르차. 통차라 동마차. 통킹의 사르차. 대일 사르동송유지. 딩오데 통선은 오. 딱 건도 좀 보나다. 딱 건데 탐지 대를 쫓고요. 올래. 다 하고 그래. 대라 놀기에서 있잖아 더데 올래. 다 대라 놀기 조금은 가래. 대라 놀기 좋은 거요. 띠 가래요. 그래. 빠지게 차고 그래. 왜 대라 놀기 좋은 용띠 대래. 딱바 산지에 살아 시과 탐지했나? 산지에 거당 용띠 딱 갖다 시주진 거 찍고데 산지 찍을 거 고바 용띠 배나. 됐다 그래. 산지지 지금 장매 봐. 대리 산지 거선 거 용띠지. 홀이 종로래. 대 남파 제진 코와 타 마동 거 받듯이 내 바틀에 따야요 말이지. 대리 도지다 그래. 콜라. 야, ngaso duduk semji tapi ngaso la yul kala. Ngaso pena zuwa yel zaba sem. Marik pa de sipa lan do ne. Khowa na mamta me pa la ta luki wa lang ne. Yang ni yang shi yang su ye le pena. Ngi song sum la tni. Dong ye zhang mi ba nyong yo le si. Lo wa de du ko lo le si. Given de zhong de le de ne. 토리 좀 되와 정도 용 먹게 레라 되는 이 송송도 등에 장내 봐 용을 해. 콜 시저서 안에 매랬다. 아니. 되는 다 고도지다 그래지. 텔라 다른 시에 찍이요래. 이제 다 되죠 거라.
The great qualities of Vajradhara and youthful Vajra and Samantabhadra are beyond expression, and it is unimaginably amazing. So, if you ask, how can we understand all these qualities? Then I would answer that these qualities can be discovered simply by knowing the innate nature of your mind. If you look into the nature of your mind, then you find all these Vajra-like qualities that are symbolized by Vajradhara and so forth. If you can see these qualities in your own mind, then at that moment you have seen Kilaya, Vajrakilaya, or the youthful Vajra. All these qualities has to be seen in the mind. The great Yogin Milarepa has said that do not try to have a decisive understanding literally, but try to have a decisive understanding mentally from the mind. When you see the root or innate nature of the mind, then it is discovered in the nature of a Buddha, that is called Buddha nature. In that state, mind is free from the conception of subject and object. When the mind is discovered being free from the conception of subject and object, it is seen as it is. And in that instance, the mind appears to be like the space outside. The mind appears neither to exist nor to not exist. It doesn't exist because it is empty by nature, and it doesn't exist even as a tiny atom. But then it cannot be said definitely not to exist because it is the source of all enlightened beings and all sentient beings. The nature of mind is empty, yet clear. Clear means that the nature of mind can be clearly seen, and it is something vividly perceivable by itself. And when it sees itself, it is in the nature of emptiness. That is why it is empty yet clear. If that nature of mind is seen, then that ties in with the prayers in Samantabhadra's words, like the base of sentient beings and the Buddhas are one and the same. The nature of Kilaya or Vajrakilaya, which we call the youthful Vajra, is something indestructible. And this indestructible Kilaya is none other than the innate nature of our mind. So our innate nature of the mind is like Kilaya. This very nature of mind has the qualities of the body, speech, and mind of all Buddhas. All the qualities that we came across during the peaceful and wrathful deities. And all these great qualities of the body, speech, and mind of enlightened beings manifest for the sake of sentient beings endlessly, all the time. That is why it is like a Vajra, something which is ceaseless, something which is endless. So that is about the enlightened beings. And when that nature is not realized, then we are sentient beings. And we have this perception of subject and object, fixations and grasping. And that causes us, because of ignorance, to be born in samsara and remain in samsara endlessly. And sometimes we are born in the lower realms due to our non-virtuous deeds, and sometimes in the higher realms due to our virtuous deeds. In this way, we wander in samsara without an end. However, despite of all these sufferings, despite of all this wandering, the true nature of mind remains unchanged and unaltered. It never dies despite of all these wanderings. That is why it is like a Vajra.
내가 도르지 시반에 다다고서 니 도르지 멘카레토 도르지 바람지 도르지 바람 시바데 그랬더니 이팅 뭐 탐지 코가 파폭 돈로요래 빼나 되게 빼대 도르지 도르지 바람 뒤 빼대 거는 뒤에 빼나 따다단 거서 진기비 신인을 때네 저상 저거 참 검네 카야 코르소나 로아 로건 거솔 레타 박차 시드르 바탐제 돌니 폭네 올레 딱바 산지에 살아 딱서 콘로 그래시 야 찜먹게 와서 다진을 로네 대래 차당이 또 세네 딱바 산지에 살아 용띵 탐제 맨잠에 받더라니 코 니송성은 딱딱 콘로 그래시 탐제 돌니 호드 트인다고 야소나 라도 마스로 빼내더니래지 되게더니 도르지에다가 강수로 코드는 제지 찾으면가 드리게 관리지 양적이래지 대동 발치 찍관다고 그래지 당 동지마대 야래 빼나 대나 다다다티 카정 퍼바 토마라더니 르빠 이시여 퍼바서 원래 르빠 이시 퍼바 도르지 용에 대래지 들이 대는 다다다디 냠설 이발라 다다다 제름 콘데 나시 콘데 탐지에 빼라 저기 트파다다 탐지라 동반이 예 템네 탐지에 빼라 그 샘저랑당랑 라랑랑 있었나 들이 빠이 시죠 봐 탭을 빼라 다다다 사기 독신이라서 봐 동검인데 르빠이 시집할발라 고래 동대래지 빼나 다 도지 용는다 것이 르빠이 시집하면 되는데 도지 용는다 갖다 펄빠가 시바 망보디 디 내가 가르치어 그래 다다다라는 셈을 쳤다고 그래지 원래 다다 충충지이나 뒤축을 빼나 건데 내가 제거요 그래지 빼나 야는 손나더니 마다번 코를 고탐이 쫑거요래지 따주지 sem병고를 뜨듯 빼는 sem병고 마통포는 마렉바래지 코를 짜와대 마렉바래지 마렉바래서 봐서 발에 리바스메트니 뉴몽 동아 텔레 다 뉴몽 보고 제세지 동동래 뒤 지선은 다 코와 지어요래지 되는 조랑 그 빼나 sem dersi 뉴몽 도지 조는 거데 셈 진배 시랍게 랑게 세고 통나 마렉바 좀래 마렉바 좀나 뉴모버 쭉 통고요래 뉴모버 쭉 통면 쭉 걸고 약요래 가지 빼나 다다리 빼는 뉴모버 남도 찍을 줄 빼요나 랑게 진배 시랍게 센 뭐 대시도 도지 요네 레지 내가 보고 가리 보고 오든 나 뉴모바 라서 봐 뉴모바 도고 그래지 뉴모바 대시도는 요라 뉴모바 이제는 땅반이래 원래 빼나 되는 웃음도 빼놓고 대체 원래 뉴모바 찍 라사를 돌나 Torvati, ole. Oh, there is a titinitini, ole. Tangin Jebores. Tapas Hanji Salandro, the Pais Jipper, Numo, what I'm Jongore. Numo, what Johnson and Cuban and Covan Logi and Logi, Maravat, Bella. The Nicoa.
Another way of describing the Vajra is that Vajra is like a diamond. A diamond can destroy any other object in the world, but nothing can destroy the diamond. The power of mind is something like that. It is like the diamond. If the mind is under the guidance of a great spiritual teacher, and if it is in bodhicitta, then it can dispel all the causes and conditions that make one wander in the 6 realms of samsara by purifying the obscuration of karma, the obscuration of habitual patterns, and the obscuration of knowledge. It frees you from the 6 realms and enable you to attain the pure state of Buddhahood. On the other hand, if this diamond-like nature is occupied by the perception of self, the ego-centeredness, and if it has the companion of attachment and aversion, then that destroys all the qualities of you naturally being an enlightened being and make you be born in the lower realms of samsara. So in both sense, negative and positive, it is like a diamond. Yesterday we heard about 4 different types of kilayas, and the first of the 4 was the kilaya of self-awareness or timeless awareness. The kilaya of timeless awareness means Vajrakilaya. The way to implement this particular kilaya is to understand through the practice of generation stage and so forth that all phenomena between samsara and nirvana are within the dimension of emptiness. They are the dynamic energy of the self-awareness itself. If that kind of realization is achieved, then the kilaya of timeless awareness is implemented. And the same is the meaning of the practice of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. So what is the function of the youthful Vajra or Vajrakilaya? It is to destroy the afflicting emotions. The kilaya actually means mindfulness. It means being mindful of the innate nature of mind. Even if you have a glimpse of the nature of mind, that can block the doors to unfortunate birth in samsara. But if there is no mindfulness to see the nature of mind, then that not seeing is ignorance. And from ignorance arise mental formations. And from mental formations arise actions. And that's how the whole samsara begins. On the other hand, if you can see the nature of your Buddha nature, which is the youthful Vajra, which is the kilaya, then that can dispel ignorance in your mind. And in the absence of ignorance, there is no afflicting emotion. And therefore, there is no samsara. So, youthful Vajra or Vajrakilaya actually means that mindfulness which cuts through all discursive thoughts. That's how the Vajrakilaya destroys all afflicting emotions in their own place. If one wishes to attain the pure state of Buddhahood, one has to implement the kilaya of mindfulness and destroy all afflicting emotions.